Okay, so good evening once again. I think we have everyone. We have Vikram, Kakule, we have Amulya, and who else do we need here? Krupa. Okay, um, all the action items which were on my plate, I've done that. I have uploaded the Q&A document. Did you guys, were you able to go and check it out? It's
Yes, Chetan, I've gone through it.
okay. So that's one thing. The second thing, Vikram, you have been given access to all the videos, all the recorded sessions. So you should be able to go and, play them.
Yeah, I've played them actually. I've been I just completed two previous sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going on with the third session and so on.
Okay, good.
So
Okay. The third thing was I have uploaded one assignment on the Reiki matrix.
mhm.
So when you get chance, please do that. And I'm in the middle of reviewing your assignments from the previous work. So that will be given by tomorrow. Okay. Anything else?
Chetan, I won't be able to attend tomorrow. I need to drop off a friend of mine who is living for India forever. So
Okay.
I will go through the recordings for tomorrow if that is okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin a new topic today. Okay. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so good. So now we will take a look at the concept what we call the SDLC, System Development Lifecycle, also known as Software Development Lifecycle or Solution Development Lifecycle. It's known by different names, but one of the most common acronym you will hear is SDLC. And the reason why you need to understand this, the entire life cycle, is because, as I said, and I've been saying this repeatedly, that as a business analyst, your goal will be to understand the stakeholders' needs and wants, understand their requirements, right? And as we discussed yesterday, you start from the top level business need, high level requirements, understand the stakeholder requirements, and then you convert them into the system level requirements, right? You understand the business processes, and then from that you take down your stakeholder requirements, and then you convert them into the system level requirement, because the ultimate goal is to build a system application so that you can automate some of the processes, or somebody can use the system application to do their day-to-day work. So when we are talking about this system or application, there is a method in which it is being built. It goes through different phases, right from the day one till the day you deploy the system. There are different phases through which this system will be passing through. And that's exactly what we need to understand in this concept of SDLC, System Development Lifecycle. So as it says here, it says SDLC is a systematic breakdown of entire project into various phases. So when you take this big project, the project is to build a system, right? As I said in the previous session, that whenever the client hires you to build a system, it is done through a project. You initiate a project, you hire a team of people, experts, who will be working on building this system, and finally they deploy it. They give it to the person who requested that. So when you initiate a project, you need to break this entire project into small phases. And when you are developing a system or an application, breaking down that big project into small different phases is called an SDLC. Right? And it's a generic name. There are different types of SDLC. We will take a look at that, after we understand the SDLC itself. So here we are talking about the, generic SDLC. What are the different phases through which an application will go through before it is given to the customer? So the second point, as you can see here, it basically assists the team to plan, to develop the system, to test it. Once you test it, you need to deploy it. Deployment means you put that system into a live environment where the end users will be using it. Once you deploy it, then you need to maintain it. And finally, there will be a phase where the system will be retired or will be phased out. It can happen in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but at one point of time, the system will be retired. It's just like a human life cycle, right? We are born, like from, as an infant, we become toddler, then, we become like, as we mature, there are different phases: boy, youth, adulthood, then we kind of, man, and then we start get into the old age, and then finally we leave this world. So similarly, as the systems will also go through the same phase. So, and it's basically, as it says, it's a framework. It is not a methodology. That means it is giving you a guidance. You can customize your SDLC based on your needs and wants, based on the project requirements. So it is not telling you that you must do it in certain way. All this SDLC concept says that these are the different phases through which the system will be evolving. Now it's up to the team to decide how they want to do it. And that's when we will take a look at what are the different types of SDLC models: waterfall, spiral, RUP, and many more. So this will basically, we can go through this model, and you can see here that's when the requirements phase is. But let's start from the beginning, the initiation phase of the project. There is no team there. We have not even thought of a solution, but it's an initiation phase, what we call. And the initiation phase is exactly when your customer smells a problem or they smell an opportunity which they can exploit. Right? Like for example, as I said I think in yesterday's session, we said like a board of directors will be meeting every quarter or every month to see how the company is doing. Or the top level executives will be meeting at a regular interval to see how things are. And they start seeing that there's a decline in their customer base. If they are a bank, they see that there's no new customers added to the bank. There have been more withdrawals than deposits. There are no new CDs, certificate of deposits, happening in the bank. It's losing their revenue. Profit is going down. People are leaving the company. So these are signals or indicators of a problem going on. At the same time, or rather on the other side of the aspect, it can be some sort of opportunity which the company or the management is trying to exploit. For example, in the emerging economies like China, India, and many more, now companies are coming and they are trying to sell things online. Like Amazon is one of the biggest player in these economies, China and India especially. 10 years back, you wouldn't have thought of these big companies coming in India and trying to um, put their foothold there. And the reason is the change in the consumer perception. Basically, 10 years back, people were very reluctant to buy online. But if you go now to these economies, it's just like how we do it here. People are buying things over the phone, over the tablets. So there's a change in consumer perception, and that's basically has opened a lot of new venues for these companies. Basically, it's an opportunity, right, for all these companies who are now trying to get into these economies. So that's the first phase, or the first step that will happen is they will smell a problem, they will identify a problem, or they will try to exploit an opportunity which they think it will be good for their company in terms of revenue, sales, customer base, whatever it is. In this phase, if you recollect, I told you many sessions back, a very senior business analyst might be hired to understand what exactly is going on. And they are generally what we call the management analyst, or they are a very senior business analyst. Typically, they are known as business architects. So business architect is a person who has gone through the rigorous BA experience, has good experience in business analysis, but now this person, he or she is working at a very senior level, at an enterprise level, what we say. So the initiation phase is mainly about looking for where the problem is, or what exactly can we do, what can we exploit so that we can improve our profit, revenues, increase the customer base. It can be reducing the cost, operating cost, whatever it is. So once that is defined, what exactly are we trying to do, the next step is what we say is a system concept development. If you recollect the example we took, right, there was a document which was created by the VP clinical testing. What is that document? If you recollect that scenario where we said that there's a VP clinical testing who is in dire need of some sort of system for the field staff so that they can start capturing the clinical trial results in a much more better way. So this guy had to write a document and submit it to the board of directors so that they can approve the project of building a system. There was a document, I specifically said there is a document which will be created by this guy, which will have which one?
Business case.
Yes, exactly, good. So that's the next step that happens. So whoever is requesting that solution, he or she must write a business case document where the solution will be defined at a very high level. That means we need a system so that we can solve all this or all these problems It will also have the cost benefit analysis. What is the cost cost of building this system versus the benefit the company will receive in terms of implementing the system. It can be tangible benefits, it can be intangible. Tangible means, in solid numbers. Okay, the company will reduce the cost by, let's suppose, 20% operating cost. The company will improve its revenue by 15%. The profits, we expect the profit to go up by 4 million per quarter. That's a tangible, right? Based on hard numbers. Intangible can be, the employee productivity will go up. Customer dissatisfaction levels will fall down. Customer loyalty will go up. Those kind of things. So everything will be captured in this document, because your goal is to make sure that this project gets approved, it gets the required funding, because no project can be done without money. So this document is all about selling it. Basically, you need to market yourself in such a way that you get your project approved. So whatever funding you have requested, you will get it, and so that you can start building the system. Right, that's a system concept development phase. So assuming that this project gets approved. Now in case if it gets rejected, there is no other step here. Everything is gone. We don't need to worry about all of these steps. The happy path is that this project got approved. The board of directors approved the project. That means now we can start the planning. Without getting the project approved, you cannot do anything. There is no reason for doing any activity, because we don't even know whether the project will be approved or not. So the moment we get an approval from the board of directors or from the top level executives, we start planning the project. So that's the third step that happens. And who does the planning? Who will be the person who will be responsible for doing the planning?
Yeah.
PM, exactly. Right. These two things are coming from your customers. The initiation and the system concept development is generally done by the customers who wants us to build a system or a solution. Planning is always done by the PM, and maybe the BA might be involved a little bit, but typically the onus lies on the PM to do the planning. Project manager will be hired in this phase so that he or she can start the planning of the project. When I say planning, there are a lot of documents which will be created as part of the planning phase. First of all, the PM will see the scope. What exactly are we building? See, at this point of time, we may not have the detailed requirements because we have not done the requirements, but we know a big, like a high level scope we have that in mind, because it's coming from the business case document. It is captured somewhere in the business case document. High level scope, what exactly that system will be doing. So the PM will be doing some basic planning. Okay, how many people do we think we need to do this project? What is the time frame we are looking at? When should we start the project? When will we end it? What will be the cost to do the project? Because based on the number of people we plan to hire, we can determine the cost involved. Because let's suppose one BA will be charging $100 per hour. So in 1 year, you have 2,000 hours. That's how we estimate, correct? So approximate cost to the project will be 200,000 for one person, for a one BA. Likewise, you need to calculate all the other people who will be involved in the project, and you can come up with some rough estimates on what will be the cost of doing this project. So one is schedule, cost, and then the scope. What exactly are we doing? So actually the scope will come first. What will be the system support? What features it will support? Based on that, you come up with the cost, and then the third one will be the schedule. And of course, there are different documents which will be created by the PM, like a project management plan, project charter, project scope statement, risk register. There are many documents which will be created by the PM in this phase, in the planning phase. And it will be in this phase when the team will be hired, because the PM is the first person to be hired for any project, because you need somebody who can plan all these things. Once they hire a PM, and once a PM knows that, okay, I need 6 people to do the project, then they start building the team. They start, putting the ads in the market on DICE or, through referrals and all these different sources, and they will build a team so that they can start building this system. Next phase comes, next is the requirements phase. That is where you will be active as a BA. The BA will be spending 80% of the time in this phase. The remaining 20% will be spent across different phases, but it's 80-20 ratio. 80% of your time will be spent in requirements analysis phase.
I have a question.
Yes.
So in real life, let's say PM makes a huge mistake while while he's planning, he or she's planning for the project. What kind of consequences he or she ends up facing?
Yes, it's a good question. So let's suppose, the PM estimates that the project will cost me 500,000, right? Maybe this guy, this person, he or she did not understand the scope. What exactly are we building? Okay. So based on that, the cost, this person, this PM determined that, we will need only 4 people and we can do this project in 4 months. But when we start working on it, when the team is hired, this person realizes that he or she underestimated the scope. Now, instead of how much I had said, like 400, 500,000, it's going to cost maybe twice, because it's a huge complex requirement and we cannot do it in 4 months, and we cannot do it by 6 people. We need a team of 12 people, and that means now that the cost has gone up, because now we need 6 more people, and also we need some more time to do it. So at that point of
you get fired or something?
Sorry, your voice is breaking, Krupa.
So in this type of situation where a PM makes a huge mistake or does not understand the scope of the project, does that mean that chances are that he or she can get fired?
Of course.
Oh, wow.
So what we do is, in real world, even like, when I work as a PM as well. So what we do is we keep a buffer. So if we think that, this project is going to take me 4 months, I will tell to the client, it's going to take me 6 months. We will do some padding. And that's a very usual practice by the PMs to keep something, in the buffer.
I have a question here.
Yes.
How much buffer you keep usually? Like, as you said, it's like if it takes 4 months, you take 2 months buffer and say like it's gonna finish in 6 months. So
generally, to play it safe, you should keep at least 20 to 30% of buffer. So for example, if the project is going to cost me $100,000, I will tell $130,000. If it's going to take me 3 months, I will tell 5 months. Because software estimation is very complex. That's a problem. If you see, like, if you like building like a building, right? If you're, if you're in the construction, have you worked in construction, anyone?
No, I have not worked in the construction, but I've seen the construction of the our house that was being
Okay.
built last year.
The reason I'm saying is, I started my career in like an oil and gas sector, and we were, I was in charge of like estimating the how much cost it will, how much it will take to build certain thing, either a pipeline or a, some sort of structure in the unit, in the plant, or even a building. So that kind of construction related activity is very easy to estimate, because we know exactly what is a length, what is a diameter, what is a width of the pipe, right? What is the quality we are going to use, from where we have to, run the pipe to where. Everything is so concrete, we know exactly to the point that this, in order to build this plant, it's going to cost me X amount of rupees or dollars. But in software, it is very subjective. Let's suppose I tell you, okay, build a system, online banking system. There is no way I can know upfront that what is the cost it will take, because number one, the requirements we don't know. First of all, we don't know the detailed requirements. We are just going with an assumption that whatever scope we have been given, that is the requirement. But that's not the case. When we start talking to the SMEs, they will give us some more requirements which were never part of the scope, or they were given at a very high level in this phase, in the plan, in this phase, in the business case document. The requirements were given at a very high level. So nobody anticipated what exactly is lying ahead. Second thing is the human factor. Let's suppose I hire a person who is like 15 years of experience, who has worked on the same domain, same sort of system, and he or she is a very good developer. So the same person, and let's suppose on the other side, I have a person who is fresh out of college, who has never worked, who has, who has no experience in the banking domain and is still learning. So if I hire the first guy, he or she can finish the work in maybe 1 month. Whereas if I hire the second guy, the same work will take 6 months. So the cost is going because of the same reason. I mean, because of the reason why this guy is inexperienced, he or she is new. That means I need to pay more, because this person will be staying for more time, because he or she cannot finish it in 1 month.
But Ketan, isn't it like if you hire an experienced person, you have to pay them more salary versus the new grad where you can negotiate their salary because they don't have experience?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Definitely. But you
So it
cannot
doesn't
see.
even out.
But see, like in reality, what will happen is you won't have much difference. Let's suppose, and I see this every day. Like, let's suppose I hire a person who has 15 years of experience. I pay this guy 150K. I'm just giving a number, okay? A very seasoned architect, he or she is getting 150K. But a less experienced person, I cannot give him 50K. I have to be within the range of 120, 130. Right? And I don't even know, before I hire this person, I really don't know how this person will turn out to be. Maybe this person has, his resume is good, but that person may not be that good when I start working with him or her. Because see, software is all knowledge based, right? It's all how much, it's all knowledge based. I mean, there is nothing like, there is no machine who is supporting you. People are working, people are writing the code. It all depends on how good people are. The better the people, the better the quality of the code. There is nothing else in IT. So all the cost is basically around the humans. So to answer your question, yes, what we do as a PM is we keep a buffer of like 20-30% so that in case of these kind of situations, we are safe. Second option, what you can do is you can re-baseline. You can go back to the customer and tell him or her saying that, okay, you know, when we started the project, we were under the assumption that, you know, that's the only thing we are doing. But now, since we know some more stuff, we have some more requirements, we realize that it's going to cost us, you know, 40% more than what we anticipated. Because we need more people, we need more time. So you can always do that. Right? So what we call the rebaselining. These are the very key words. You should write it down. So rebaselining is once you get an approval from your customer that you can go ahead and do the project in 4 months, and we will give you, let's suppose, $500,000. Later, after the PM, you know, once the PM determines that, you know, it's not going to work, we will take, you know, instead of 500,000, it's going to cost me 800,000, and it's going to take me 6 months instead of 4 months. So you as a PM have to go back to the customer and tell him or her that, okay, hey, you know, when we started the project, we based the entire budget and the timeline based on the assumption that these are the things we are doing. But now, since you are telling us to do these many things more, we will need some more money and we will need some more time. That's always you can do it. So there are two options basically. Is that clear?
I have a question.
Yeah.
In earlier classes, I know one lesson we went through when you said that PM, as a PM, it's a non-technical position basically. They don't know what's going on in the application and stuff.
It's not that they don't know what's going on, but they are not the person who needs to know how to code it. So they don't need to go to that detail and understand the coding and coding standards and the requirements. See, the PM will be leaning on different people to give the inputs. So for example, from the requirement side, the BA will be giving all the inputs to the PM. From any technical side, there will be a person called solution architect or a lead developer who will be giving all the inputs to the PM.
Okay, so let's say, for example, if the PM already knows, like, if the PM is, you know, has the background of all this little stuff, like been in BA or in a development, worked as a developer and stuff, wouldn't that make it easier for that particular PM to work on any project?
Of course, that is definitely, it's going to be easy because, you know, this person, the PM will already know that, you know, on what basis he or she has to build an estimates, prepare his plan, project plan.
So are there projects like that where they specifically require a PM to have these type of knowledge rather than relying on other persons from each department?
See, generally, what I've seen in these past 12 years, the PM is coming from any of these background. Either he or she would have worked as a BA or a, you know, solution architect or a developer or even tester. Eventually, as they get experience, you know, they will start working as PM. So just like how I'm doing right now. So I started my career as a BA, junior BA, then I worked as a senior lead BA, like a manager, and then I'm working as a PM as well right now. So my background, my core competency is a BA, business analysis, but right now I'm working as a PM. So I know how to, you know, do the estimates. I know how to prepare the plan. I'm basically using all my experience.
Okay.
Sure. So coming back to this point, the requirements analysis is a phase where the BA, business analyst, will be talking to the SMEs. the stakeholders to understand their detailed requirements. And here in this phase, you will be mainly focusing on two things. One is understanding the processes of your client, the departments, the units you're basically your client is supporting, and based on that you will be doing the stakeholder requirements and then the system level requirements, because ultimately your goal is to convert your business level requirements into the system level requirements. So everything you will be doing it in this phase, right? So this is a phase where you will spend most of your time. Now in this example, they are telling you only you are creating an FRD, but there are many more documents you will be creating, and we will take that later. But right now just think, that in this phase, you as a BA will be solely responsible for getting into the requirements, what needs to be built so that we can solve the problem. So the next phase is a design phase. So design phase is something which as a BA you are not directly involved, but you will be working with a solution architect so that you can give a better understanding of what the requirements are, what kind of system needs to be built. So the solution architect will design the system. They will create an architecture of the system. When I say architecture, they will determine, what kind of platform do we need to use, which kind of, operating system do we need to use, which language do we need to use, will the system be written in Java, .NET, COBOL mainframes, or Python, Ruby on Rails, all these different languages. What kind of database do we need? Oracle, Sybase, or there are tons of database, right? Will there be any other external system through which we need to communicate? If yes, then they will also build or design a web service so that our system can talk to that system. So in short, in design phase, the goal of design phase is to come up with a good architecture of the system. Right. So I think Amulya, you're there, right? Are you there, Amulya? Oh, sorry, you're on mute. Okay. Yeah, yeah, Amulya. So yeah, I thought of asking you because I think I saw your resume. So you have a computer science background, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here basically I was just trying to, I wanted to let you, give your inputs as well, because you are coming from that background, computer science background. So in the design phase, right? So have you basically heard of this role, solution architect?
Yes.
Okay. So a solution architect is basically a senior person, right? If you want to share your experience, I think you have worked as a developer, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, share your experience, so that others can get to know, like, in a real world, what does this person do?
Mm. So I've done as a developer, it was a kind of intern.
Okay.
So just for 1 year.
Okay.
Generally, we get requirements from functional teams. I mean the consultant. we gather the requirements.
So you were gathering the requirements as a developer?
Yeah.
That's strange.
Even I had the same experience gathering the requirements and being a developer.
See, I see there are many teams, basically they work in a very ad hoc manner. Basically, there is no SDLC followed in many places. Like I was talking to one of my friend and she said, like, they don't they have no standards of requirements. They do the requirements by email. I was shocked to hear that. That's basically, there are some places where they don't have any standards of coding, they don't have any standards of requirements, there are no processes, but that's not the way you should be doing.
So when you said there are places, like, are those big companies or recognizable companies?
No. They are all, they are basically, they themselves don't know what they are doing. Basically, I've seen, at the end of the day, they kind of end up in a lot of issues. When you don't have these processes, you don't have the standards, it's like, the requirements are flying back and forth. Nobody knows what the cost of the project is. It's all mess. You should never do that.
Yeah, you are right. As per my experience, the project started, like they said, it's 3 months project, and after gathering all the requirements and all, they made it like they divide the project into 6 phases, and each phase like need 4 to 5 months time.
Yeah. So was it done successfully, or was it, what happened to the project?
I've been there for like 5 months. The first phase was successfully, but I don't know the rest of the things.
Right. See, I mean, and I see this world, of course, we don't live in perfect world. So we need to understand, there will be some places where there are no processes, there are no standards, and there will be places where they follow very strictly. So that's where we are basically. So I'm not saying there is no project which is like, which has to be done in this way. It can be done, like I've seen places where there are only 2 people who are doing it. They do the planning, they do the coding. I mean, they do the requirements, they do the coding, they themselves do the testing, and they give it to the customer. So there is nothing else, nobody else working on the project.
Second, I have a question. It's regarding Amulya and Kakuli.
Yeah.
So they have experience as a developer, right? So isn't it like developer is a step above a BA?
There is nothing like, step above or lower here. That's what my take is. See, we are all part of the team. So everybody is doing their own job. So I will give an example. So if as a BA, you don't do a good job in your requirements, no matter how good a developer is, he or she is going to build a system which is not going to satisfy the need of your customer. Correct? So we all have to play our own parts. Now on the other side, no matter how good we do the requirements, if the developer is not doing his or her job, they don't read the requirements, they don't do the coding well, again the same thing happens. Right? And the third thing which is very important is developers, they are good in coding, they are good technically, but many of them, they lack good communication. They are not well versed with how to talk to the stakeholders, how to communicate with them. I'm not saying all of them, but generally they are more comfortable in coding, building a system. If you ask any developer, he or she will basically try to avoid that, getting into that domain of getting the requirements, talking to the stakeholders, doing the demos, presentations. They are not comfortable with that. So that's why this industry has created a specialist role of a BA who can go out and talk to the customers, give good presentations, understand their needs and wants, and convert the requirements into the level which the developers can understand.
Okay. So my question is for Kakuli and Amulya, that their background is in developer side. What made them to come on BA side? Like, what drove them to this classes and want to learn more about BA? If they don't mind answering that.
From my side, I told Chetan earlier that I do not like coding. I am not a very technical person. So it was, I was just trying my luck in there, but I didn't find it interesting. So I rather be more comfortable gathering requirements, talking to people, and requirement analysis is better for me, I believe.
Okay, I see. Thank you, Kakuli.
Yeah, same with me, as I'm not comfortable with coding.
Coding is that boring?
Yeah, see, that's basically perception.
Boring, but for me,
yeah,
I'm not comfortable.
It's all based on your individual preference. That's what I think. Like
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it
absolutely.
all depends on. Yeah, go ahead, please.
It depends on person to person. When somebody likes it a lot, and some people do not like it.
Right.
Maybe the projects I worked in, they are very involved traveling. I have to live away from my family, and all those things make me more less interested in development or something like that, or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I believe person to person varies.
Correct. Yes, I agree. In my team, I used to have a person who was such a nice developer. He would be like, what we call a 10x. Have you heard of this term, 10x developer?
No.
It's like saying, this guy is equivalent to 10 developers, 10 times. So he was so nice, excellent developer, but his only problem was he never liked to talk. He would tell us that, you give me whatever you need to do, I will write the code and give it to you. Never he used to come out and talk. I mean, of course, in the internal meetings he would come and talk, but he was not a person who would stand up and give a presentation, talk, communicate with 50 people, 20 people in a room. He would basically feel very awkward. So that's the personality. You cannot change that. If you tell this person to be a BA, he will be a disaster because he doesn't want to talk. Same way, if you tell me to write a code, I will be a horrible developer because I don't like coding.
So before you guys became a developer, you did have an idea like what you were getting into basically.
Actually, when I started learning development, it was like fun for me. So I started doing it as, okay, I can do it or something like that. But as I told you, like later on, as more logics involved and everything, I didn't like it.
Yeah, it happens. But thank you so much, guys, for sharing your experience.
Yeah, for me, I always say it's kind of like if you say Sachin Tendulkar to sing a song, he can make a career in singing, it cannot happen. And asking Lata Mangeshkar to play cricket is not going to happen.
Yeah. So basically trial and error. You tried it, didn't like it. Try something else. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And for me, it was funny how I became a BA. Way back in India, when was that? 1998, 99, I guess. Yeah, 99, 2000. So I was working in Bombay with a company called Dotsel. We were into oil and gas, like EPC, engineering, procurement, commissioning, building all these plants and pipelines, the crude oil pipelines, what we call the cross-country pipelines. So we were implementing a ERP in the company, in the enterprise, and at that point of time I was working in the procurement. I was like a management trainee. That was my second job basically. So I was working as a management trainee, and I was responsible for giving the requirements to the team, to the team who came to implement the ERP. So I was giving the requirements at that point of time. I didn't even know that what this role is and all that, right? I was not taking the requirements, I was giving. So when I came to US, I'd completed my my MBA. Then one of my friends said, the easiest way to get a H1B is to get into IT. Even I had no IT background because mine is economics and marketing, my undergrad. I did learn COBOL and C, C++, but that was basically out of curiosity because everybody was talking about IT. I was learning, but as Amulya said, I was learning. I liked a little bit, but I was not that hardcore, programming guy. So when I came here, I thought, this is one of the best options I have because I was giving the requirements before. Now I need to be on the opposite side of the table. I need to get the requirements from people. So for me, it was kind of transition was a little bit easy because I have been, giving the requirements to the BAs before. But still, I learned everything from the scratch. Because way back in 2000, what we are talking, I didn't even know all this. Okay, so any questions on the design, what we do as part of the design phase?
No.
Okay, so now the role of a BA here in the design phase is to work with the solution architect or a very senior developer to give them a good understanding of the requirements so that the solution architect or a lead developer can design an architecture of the system. Next comes the development phase. That's what, Amulya and Kakuli, you were developers writing the code. So based on the requirements, the development team, the developers or the coders, the programmers, they will start writing the code, and that's where you will see most of the effort goes in. Like, in any given project, the team strength, if you look at the team strength, maximum people will be this part, developers. Oops, did I lose you guys? Okay. So as I was saying, the maximum amount of people in any project will be the developers. So if I open this just to give you an idea. So PM, BA, business analyst, solution architect, developer, tester, right? And you may have some more roles like a technical writer. Now this role is not in all the projects. So, but these will be in all the projects. PM, BA, solution architect, developer, and tester. These 5 people or 5 roles will be in any given project. So generally PM will be 1. You cannot have more than 1 PM. Now the BA will be maybe 2 or 3 depending on the complexity of the project. But there is a ratio here. If you see the industry ratio, there is the ratio here. 1 solution architect, 4 developers, 2 testers, and maybe 1 technical writer if you have. So what will happen is, generally, how many developers you have? Let's suppose you have 8 developers. So you will have 3 BAs. Maybe you will have 3 to 4 testers. Right, so that's basically a rough ratio, you can say. Now, if I have a team of 12 developers, so it depends on, how good the BAs are they experienced, all those things will kick in. But you may have 3 to 4 BAs. You may have 2 solution architects. You may have like 5 to 6 testers. That's basically how the split is. But if you see here, this will be the maximum. You will have the maximum number of people will be from the development role. So that's what happens in the development phase. The developers will take your requirements which you wrote as a BA, and they will start building the system. They will start writing the code. And again, as a BA, you have to diligently work with this development team, because they will come and ask you for any questions, clarifications. If you as a developer, probably Amulya and Kakuli might have done that before. Something was written by the developer, by the BA, which was not clear. So they may have to reach out to the BA and ask, okay, what exactly are we doing? What is this requirement? Can you please explain? So those kind of things will be, that's what the, your support will be to the development team. Okay, so once the development is done, then comes the testing phase. How do we ensure that, the developers have written the code exactly as per the requirements? How do we ensure that the system is behaving as per the requirements? And we cannot let the developers test their own work. That's a very bad practice. It's like, checking your own exam, checking your own paper and giving yourself grades. So we need a team of people who will be looking at the system, comparing it against the requirements which we gave, and check whether the system is behaving as per the requirements. Is it conforming to the requirements we gave as a BA? So in this integration and testing, basically the testing phase, as a BA, let's suppose if I'm working as a BA, I will play with the system. I will go into the system and check each and every feature functionality is working as per the requirement specification. If yes, I will pass it. If no, then I will fail it. And if fails, we cannot give it to the end user unless and until it passes. Now, right now, because we are in the last phase of the project, we are going live next month, May 14th. So right now I'm doing a testing because there is a reason, that we have too much of work going on. The requirements are kind of done. There is no new requirement coming in for now. So I'm supporting the team because they want some help in testing. So right now I'm playing the role of a tester. For 2-3 weeks, I'm going and testing the system. And there are different ways of testing it. It can be an automated testing, manual testing, but I'm doing a manual testing right now. When I say manual testing, that means I go into the system, I open that system and check whether the system is behaving as per the requirements. So if I set in the requirements that the system will generate a report, sales report for the past month, I will go into the system and see whether it's generating the report. If yes, what exactly is the data in it? Is it the exactly same data which we want to see. So those kind of things. Right? And the testers will be creating their own artifacts, their own documents, but those documents will be based on the requirements which we give. And that again is a very specialist role, the testing. But just to give you an idea how the testing part is, involved, I mean, how the testers are part of the SDLC, and they play a very important role. They catch all the defects, all the bugs, all the issues. Imagine if we don't have this phase, we are not sure whether the system will be defect free, whether it will work fine when we give it to the end user. You don't want to give a system with full of defects. Would you?
No.
No.
And imagine if that system is some sort of financial system, the very next day that company will be closed if you do that, and everybody will be in jail if you roll out that kind of system. I think probably you might have heard this a few months back or almost a year back. There was I got a call from one of my friend. So I was in the movie, and he calls me. I think after the movie I heard this voicemail, because I was in the movie, I couldn't take his call, but I heard his voicemail, and he said, like, go ahead and book your tickets online. Emirates was selling the tickets for like $50 from US to India. Of course, I had no plan to go, but there are many people who booked it even though they had no plans, because they were able to buy for $50 from US to India.
Yeah, it was $50 for 10 days trip.
Yes, and that was a glitch actually. They immediately.
How did you know it was a glitch?
Because after that, one of the friend, he wanted to do it. He couldn't see the deal. He called this Emirates, and they said that there was a coding error. Whatever, I mean, they forgot to test the code. Basically, there was some glitch there. So instead of that 550, it was only $50.
Oh, wow.
Because
so did they honor that fare afterwards, or they said it was a glitch?
No, those who bought it, they had to honor it. They cannot say no, right? One of my neighbor, he went for like $200. They all went, 4 of them, to India. The reason is, what I'm trying to say is, if you don't test the system, that's what you will land up in. Somebody didn't.
I think it happened sometime in summer last year.
Yeah.
You know that company Shutterfly?
Uh-huh.
Like that. They had it. I think they had a system glitch, and they were selling. You know how you can personalize those coffee mugs? You can put your picture or whatever you want to do.
Right.
They were doing that for free.
Okay. Oh, that was.
So it was a glitch they had.
Yeah.
But I got mine for free.
Good. And the same thing happened, I think 6-7 years back with different airlines. I think it was a European Airlines, British Airways or Air France. I forgot the name of that airlines. But it was the same thing, that time it was like $100 or so. And exactly same thing, there was a production error. So just imagine the cost the company incurred on that. Nobody can, I mean, it's not feasible, right, to go from here to India in $50. It's not possible.
So, Chetan, in this type of situation, let's say, for example, this Emirates, from 550 to only $50, who takes the responsibility and pays for it? Because obviously it was an Emirates, who made the glitch. It was one of the developer or some other company who were working on it. They,
Yeah.
made the error.
See,
What happens?
ultimately it will be the PM who will be taking the, all the, you can say, responsibility. So in this case, the PM, I don't know what happened to that PM, but probably everything would have come to the PM. Why did you release the system without testing it? Now it is not the fault of the tester. Tester will say, I did my job. I did the testing, right? The developer will say, I did the coding. BA will say, I did my job. I did the requirements. But ultimately the PM will be taking the responsibility, because remember, authority and responsibility always goes together. So the PM will always take or has to take the blame on him or her.
So does that mean that PM has to pay the company or just has
That
to,
that depends, it's all based on how good the PM is, his or her records, the relationship with the customer, with this in this case Emirates. All those things will kick in. If this PM has been good, maybe he or she will survive. If this has been a repeated issue, immediately that person will be gone. And of course, we are all humans. It's, as I said, even though we say it's a defect-free system, in reality, there is no system which is defect-free. Do you agree with that?
I guess, but I haven't worked on a system.
What about you,
Internal.
Vikram?
Yeah, I do.
Statistically, there is no system which is 100% defect-free.
Yeah.
You may have 0.0001% of defect somewhere in the system, somewhere in the code. It may not be visible to the user, but somewhere it may be technical defect, which you may not be bothered, you may not be impacted, but that's what the fact is. And if you will be surprised to know Microsoft products, how many defects they have.
Yeah.
It has more than 5% defects in their tools, in their products. But the reason why they are successful is because of the time to market. Their goal is not to create a defect-free product. Their goal is to create a product which is suitable for the user to use on a day-to-day basis. But their main success lies in the time to market. From the time they conceive an idea to the time they put it in the market, that's where the key is.
Yes.
So
recently, Facebook paid like 10 lakh rupees to an Indian guy from Bangalore.
Exactly.
Who did some bug fixing for them. Yeah.
And this is not the first time. This is like 15th time or 16th time he has fixed the bug for Facebook. Not fixed, but identified the bug.
Yes.
So imagine, we are using the systems which are not 100% defect free or bug free. But the goal here is that you should be able to use it, basic features on a day-to-day basis without any glitch.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's your testing phase. Once you test it and thoroughly test it and assume that things are working fine, there are no obvious defects or gaps or issues, bugs in the system, in the code, the next step is to give it to your customer, to give the system to the end user for whom you have built the system. What we call technically, we deploy it to the production environment. Please write these words, you deploy the system into the production environment. That means now you are handing it over to the people in the live environment where the system will be used by the actual users. Its implementation is known by different names. Some people call it deployment. Some people call it rollout. right? Some people call it go live. So these are different words, but ultimately the meaning is same, that you have tested the system and now you are pushing it into the production environment. You are giving it to the end users who will be actually using the system. So for example, if there is a new, let's suppose a Bank of America, I'm a customer of Bank of America, and now, assuming that there was no system. Now, today they launch an online system. I can go and do all my transactions online. I can check my balance. I can make payments. I can transfer it across the bank within my account or outside the bank. I can see my statements. I can open a bank account. I can open a savings account. All those things I can do using the system. So there you cannot have a system which will malfunction, because you will lose customer confidence. You will lose your customer base. That means you are losing your revenue, your money. Everything will be falling apart then. Right? So that's what you mean by implementation, production, deployment, rollout, go live. Everything is same. So once you give it to the customers, once it's up and running, people are using it. I think we discussed this yesterday or on Sunday, I think yesterday or Sunday, right? We discussed this, or maybe last week, that you don't think that you don't need any support now. Basically what I'm trying to say is, once you deploy it, you still need some people, you still need some team members who will provide some sort of support to the system. And there are many reasons for it. So for example, we deploy the system and now people are using it. Imagine, we had like a team of 15 people. Or let me open that sheet here. So let's suppose we had 1 PM. Let's suppose we had 2 BA, 1 solution architect, 8 developers. Let's suppose we had 3 testers and 1 technical writer. Oops. So now we have deployed the system in the production environment. So now, oops, I think I need to format the cells. So now maybe I don't need these many people, because the system is up and running. But at the same time, I cannot say that I don't need any of these. It will be a risky proposition, because tomorrow what if the customer comes back and tells me that I need some new feature, I need some new functionality. There is a technical issue there. Sometimes there can be an issue like the system, the connection is down, the server fails, or there's a new upgrade. Just like we have our apps gets upgraded, correct, from one version to another version every few days or few weeks. Even these systems, the servers or the database, they also get upgraded from one version to another version. So you need somebody who will be doing all those tasks. Another reason can be, let's suppose you are an end user and you cannot do something. There is a bug in the system which you as an end user catch it. Nobody caught it so far, but you as an end user stumbled upon that bug. So you need some support. How do you do that? If there is no support, there is no team here. So for the exact same reason, you need somebody, but maybe you don't need these many people. Now you need 1 PM. Maybe instead of 2 BAs, you need 1 BA. Maybe I don't need a solution architect now. Or maybe yes, let's say, it's a good idea to keep 1, but instead of 8 developers, I need only 3 now. instead of 3 testers, I will need only 1 tester. And I don't need this guy anymore. So I've reduced my team strength here. So if you see here, I had like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 people here, right? No, 16, sorry. And now here, I reduced it to 6, 7. Almost half of it, less than half. But still I need those many people to support the O&M, what we call, the operations and maintenance. And what can be the reasons? Amulya, why do I need O&M?
The end user gets some issues while using it, so someone has to take care of it and take what we call feedback kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason there should be O&M.
Okay, so here, let's suppose you are a user. You get to a point where you basically stumble upon a defect. What do? Right? You cannot fix it because you are a user. So you will call some like 1-800 number, and there will be a technical help there. So you will explain exactly what is going on. And then there will be a ticket which will be opened, and that ticket will be assigned to a developer or maybe even a BA to do an impact analysis. So do some sort of research, what's going on. And based on that, the developer will fix the code. They will make sure that the defect is resolved. That is one scenario. The second scenario is, Vikram, do you recollect what I said right now? What is the second reason why you need O&M staff?
Bug fixing or no?
Yeah, bug fixing we already discussed right now. The second one is your customer.
Upgrade something?
Okay, yeah.
Upgrading.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Upgrade. That's a very common scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Let's suppose in my system we have used Sybase database, right? That database, it's a DBMS, Sybase, database management system. Now we are working out of, like, there is a one version of it. 3 months down the line, Sybase has a new version, and we need to upgrade our version so that the system can function as per the norms.
Yeah.
So you need somebody who will be doing that task. You cannot tell the user to do it, right? You cannot tell the business people to do it because they don't know how to do it. There has to be some technical person who will be doing all this. And the third reason is your customer may come back and say, in the release we had last month, we didn't do this feature, one feature. We want to add it now. So you will do it as part of the O&M work. 1, 2 small features here and there, fixing it, adding some new features, tweaking it. Those kind of thing you will be doing it in O&M phase. That's why you still need O&M phase, but maybe you need a scaled down version of the team. You don't need the full strength of the team. Just like how I showed it here. And right now, that's what we are doing right now, because once we go live next month, May 14th, right now we have, I will tell you exactly how many people do we have. We have 1 PM. I have 2 BAs. I have 1 solution architect, and I have 14 developers. And I have 3 testers. I don't have this guy here. So in all I have 14 and 3, 17, 21 people right now. Next month, once we go live, right, we will still need one BA. We will still need one solution architect, but now we may need only 5 developers and one tester. So I will basically cut down my team by almost 50%.
Ethan,
Yeah.
so let's say this BA that would still be working after you go live next month in the same project. Would he or she be working in a new project that you'll be working after this one's over?
Who?
The BA who's still on that project after you go live,
Yes.
would
No,
he or she?
that person, this person will be supporting the project, the O&M phase of the project.
Yes. So, I mean, that's all he or she will be doing, or
Yes. No, that's all he will be doing.
so in real life scenario, that's how it works, or sometimes you do get to work in 2 projects simultaneously.
You can, I mean, of course, that is a possibility, people do that. But in this, because it's a big project and we know that there will be a lot of issues coming in, there will be a lot of new requests coming in from the customer to add some new features to the system. This person will be 100% working on this O&M phase of the project.
And who decides that person to be there? Is it voluntarily or PM decides that?
PM will decide. So I get to decide, who will be working on what project and when to relieve the person.
Thank you.
Sure. But of course, it's not that, I decide based on my likes and dislike. There has to be a rationale to it. There has to be some logical notion to it. And it's a team decision by the management. It's not only my decision. I have to sit down with my boss and I have to explain to him or her, this is what I'm planning. So based on the feedback I get, I will take the decision.
Chetan, I have a question.
Yeah.
How technical does a tester have to be? Does he need to know the coding or stuff? Or does he just go through the application and then click this and that and see whether it's working properly or not?
Okay.
Generating the code.
Yeah. There are 2 things here. One is there is a role called automation test engineer.
Okay.
So if you are playing that role, you need to be a very, very good in coding, because you will be writing automation scripts to test the system. You won't be manually testing it. So if you are going into that path, automation test engineer, you need to be good in coding as well. Second thing is, if you are not going in that path, if you're not going towards that path, you're doing a manual testing, then as you said, you basically launch a system and check against the test cases and check whether the system is complying to the test case or not. So it's basically a manual testing.
So you act as if you are an end user, right?
Yes, exactly. Good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there are certain things which you cannot test using a system. You cannot automate those kind of tests. So you have to do a manual testing. So the testers will decide, in my team, we decide which scenarios we can automate. So the test automation engineers will create the scripts and run it on the tool. And there are certain scenarios which you cannot run it on the automation on those tools. So you have to manually test it.
Okay.
But right now I'm doing a manual testing because, as I said, my expertise is not in coding. You need a person who is really like a very strong background of a development phase, developer, those people, those individuals can play the role of a automation test engineer. It's best suited
Okay.
for them basically.
Yeah.
Okay, and in the last phase, the disposition phase is where you basically retire the system. Either there are a couple of things you can do here. One is, let's suppose the system is outdated, it's written on COBOL mainframes, it's very hard to maintain, you don't have right people to maintain it. So you want to basically modernize that system. You want to modernize it from Java, from COBOL to Java or COBOL to .NET, right? So that's basically you are transforming that system from that old COBOL based mainframe system into a web based system. Second thing is, you basically retire the system at all. I mean, you retire the system. You don't even, you basically just shut down the system because you may have a new system in place, or maybe the company goes bankrupt. They don't have any business. So you just shut down the system. Like, there was few years back, this social media, if you recollect, Orkut was there, right? Orkut was
Yes.
bought by, I
Yes.
think, Google, I believe.
Yes.
And then it basically, nobody used it because everybody was on Facebook and other, social platforms. So they just shut down.
Yeah.
So they retired the system. So it's like a sunset phase, what we call, or the end of the life, right? So that's basically how your system or SDLC looks like, different phases. Okay, so we'll stop here and we'll meet tomorrow again, because from tomorrow we'll take a look at what are the different types of SDLC models. There are waterfall, there is RUP, Rational Unified Process, there is Spiral, Scrum, and many more. So we'll take a look at those tomorrow. Any questions from today?
I have another question.
Yes, go ahead.
So as I'm learning business analysis or trying to be a BA,
Mm-hmm.
I see I find it so similar to a project management course.
Mm-hmm.
I have taken project management course, I've done it, and I find it so similar. So do you have any like how, I mean, it's so like stakeholders requirements, stakeholder identification. We do that in project management.
Yes.
There is no SDLC, but there's something similar to that, like phase identification or something like that. I don't exactly remember.
Yeah, initiation,
But
planning,
yeah, planning,
execution.
initiation, execution. These things are so similar. So is it similar, or project management? I can see. I think it's a more generic term because BA is more towards IT industry.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like that, or am I somewhere wrong?
No, you are right in the sense, you see, right now we are building the concepts, right? From next
Okay.
week, we will be focusing on module 2, which will be hardcore BA role, where you will
Okay.
be using the tools and techniques to map out your processes as is 2B, UML, use case
Mm-hmm.
model, and many more. So,
Mm-hmm.
but if you don't understand all this, you won't know what you're doing. That's why it's very important for you to build the base,
Okay.
right? Ultimately, all the solutions we are delivering are delivered as part of the projects. So you need
Okay.
to understand what is a project management, what is SDLC, what is your role in the SDLC exactly here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
your one of the biggest question will be, or one of the most important question in the interview will be, which kind of environment have you worked in?
Okay.
What do you mean by that? What kind of environment is this guy talking?
Is this the
He-
type of SDLC that one
Yes,
uses?
yes. He or she is referring to, okay, have you worked in waterfall, or have you worked in RUP? Have you worked in Scrum?
Okay.
Which kind of model have you worked in?
Mhm.
So you need to understand those things before you start, talking the technical aspects.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So exactly this is what you are saying, right?
Oh, yeah.
The initiation phase
Yeah, exactly.
is where you are building your, it's all this initiation, concept development, requirements analysis phase. In the planning, you are doing your project planning and also doing your requirements analysis. In the execution, you are designing, development, and testing the system. The monitoring and controlling is done throughout the project. And the closing means you are basically rolling out the system, you are deploying it,
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. So,
right?
I mean, there were things like fishbone diagrams in project management. I
Yeah,
think we would
we'll come to that. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to know the similarity between these two things. So,
Right. So this is exactly, I think, what you are referring.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So we'll stop here, and again we'll meet at 8 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time, and we'll take a look at all these different models. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, then good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.